Let's walk through how to actually turn passive listeners into active fans so you can have as many people showing up for you as possible. And I'm XO Xuded. I've had at least 5,000 monthly Spotify listeners for over 2 years and over 2 million streams on my original music without paying a single dollar in promotion. Here are 3 steps to turn a passive listener into an active fan. Step 1. Tell stories with your music. And you could do this through the visuals that accompany your song or actually through like a lyric breakdown. And I'm sure you've seen something like Genius. If not, just look up Genius lyric breakdown and you'll see how different artists have broken down their lyrics. But the actual format that you do it, the actual creative style that you have, you can do your own thing. It doesn't really matter. The whole point and principle behind this is to break down the lyrics of your song. Obviously, you want to show the meaning behind it, the story behind it, what you were feeling as you were writing it. If you actually are able to put more of this out there, this is more that your fans can connect with. This is more that your fans can relate to. You feel me? And it doesn't always have to be, it's not like it has to be some sort of emotional song or some heart-wrenching, heartbreaking song that, this is some deeply saddening thing that I went through and this is why I wrote this. No, man, you ain't got to do all that. It could be fun songs. It could be whatever the fuck you want it to be. It could be party songs, and you know what I'm saying? You could always relate it back to something that's more emotional or like down a darker road if you want. Like, I don't know, like my dog died and this is why I wrote this song, to just kind of lift my spirits, whatever the fuck. Like, just tell the truth. Tell the truth of the origin story of this song, because people will be interested in it. And they might have their own connection to it. They might have their own, like, damn, I never would have thought he meant it that way or she meant it that way. I thought they meant it like this. And this is how I took it. This is how actually I related to it. And some people will actually find that like, wow, it's amazing how you could mean it that way. I could take it this way. It's just that much more impactful. Like, it has dual meanings. Like, you'll be able to impact so many different people just by sharing the story of your song, just by showing more parts of your music. But it doesn't just stop at the lyrics, right? It doesn't just stop where it's like, okay, this is what I wrote and this is why I wrote it, the story behind it or whatever. You can actually show more about your song and tell more stories through your music, just through the visuals that you put along with it. Like if you do a music video, what type of music video is it? Are you actually putting some sort of story together? What type of mood are you making people feel? All of these different things are things that can go with your music that help people attach to it. You feel me? Where it's not just a song anymore. It's a song with an origin story. It's a song with another visual concept that goes along with it. And again, this could be one of those where they take it one type of way. When you do the lyric breakdown, they hear your version of what you meant when you wrote it, and they're like, wow, there's that type of way. And then when you do a video, you can have a completely separate story and say, okay, here's what I'm going to put along with the video. It's not the story of why I wrote it. It's not necessarily what the listener was thinking of, but it's a whole nother story where the song still goes with it. What the fuck? Mind exploded. Now, like, this is even more things that people can connect with, more things that people can relate to. Step 2, open up to make stronger connections. You gotta show people the musician behind the music. You gotta show the artist behind the art. Yes, you're putting all your music out there, assuming it's great, people are connecting with it. Great, awesome, amazing, I'm happy for you. But it doesn't stop there. To bring them from just a passive listener that's just listening to your music and actually bring them all the way over through the journey of being an active fan, that everything you drop and everything you say, they actually want to hear it. They actually want to share it with their friends. It's a long road, and it starts with actually sharing more of you. What are some of the things that you're passionate about? What do you like to talk about? What are the things that you believe in? I mean, strongly believe in. Things that you put your foot down on. Shit that, honestly, if some people heard it, they might even get a little bit upset because they feel the exact opposite. Fuck them. What are the things that make you? And I'm not talking about you're trying to be some contrarian person that's trying to be polarizing and get as many, rage clicks as possible, where you're doing all this weird shit just to get attention. That's weird, bro. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what is you? What makes you you? What is the person behind the music? Like, you feel me? They want to know this. This is how they stop being just a passive listener and they're an active fan. They need to know who they're a fan of. You feel me? Like, people have always, and I mean always, since like the dawn of time, like had leaders in their tribes. Like, people will look up to people as long as they know who they're looking up to. They're not gonna just look up to a song like, the fuck? I thought I heard some shit. I don't see nothing though. You gotta show people who the artist is behind the art, who the musician is behind the music. And you could do this through things like podcasts, and this could be stuff where you're talking to other people, you're just having natural conversations, you're going in deep by yourself about things that you are just happy to go in deep about and talk out loud about, talk to a little fucking camera about, just so that they can feel like they know you better, so they can feel like they're better associated with you. You feel me? The more time of yourself that you put out there, the more time they can spend with you. Think about your best friends or your family, the people that you're closest to in your life. You know, this didn't just happen by accident. This didn't just happen overnight. This is something that happened over a period of time. And you're able to actually add up this time and put it out there for people that want to spend it with you. So if it takes, I'm just putting fucking numbers out there, if it takes 100 hours for somebody to feel like, you know, you're their best friend, you need to put out 100 hours of shit. And it doesn't happen overnight. Like I said, you're not supposed to just put out like actual shit and just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. I mean, put out you and yourself. Yes, your music is still gonna go out there like we just talked about in step 1, but you also need to put you out there. A podcast is a great way to do it. It's just a natural conversation. You know, sometimes, just to be real, shit like this, it feels a little bit weird. You know what I mean? I don't have like a producer behind set that's like asking me questions right now. To be honest, it's just me, some lights, and some cameras. You feel me? Like, this could be a little bit weird sometimes, especially when you're first starting out. But you know what makes it real easy? Is when you get somebody and you give them a microphone and y'all just talk and you act like these cameras aren't here. You just act like you're just having a conversation that you would naturally have. Talk about the things that you would actually talk about. Don't put on any performative act like, oh, you know, now I'm the artist, so I need to be, you know, whatever the fuck. Like, no, just be you. And it makes it so much easier when you're around people that can they already know who you are. They already know how you act. So they're not going to be fooled by this performative thing. If anything, you know, the real ones, they might call you out, be like, bro, what you doing? Why you acting weird? You're acting a little bit different. You're not acting like yourself. Be cool. Chill out. And hopefully this will make it easy to just show yourself authentically. Hopefully this will be an easy way for you to consistently, repeatedly show your audience parts of your world, parts of your personality. And this shit is important. You might think that, hey, I'm boring. Like, you know, what's really interesting about me, the most amazing and, you know, interesting about me that there is out there, I'm already putting it out there. It's my music. Like, did you hear that? Did you hear that song that I just dropped? And I get it. You might feel like you're too boring. You're not somebody that anybody would want to hear talk. You feel me? Like, whatever things that are in your head, it's just like a little voice in your head that's telling you why it won't work. Just ignore that, nigga. You feel me? Like, just ignore them. Like, at the end of the day, it's probably the same thing that would have been talking to you out of making music in the first place. That would have said, you know, what are they ever going to get out of your music? You know, why would they ever want to listen to you when they can listen to all these other people? You could have all of these negative things in your head, but you can't let it hold you back. And again, a podcast is it's one of the easiest ways where you could just talk, just show who you are, and it will naturally come up all the things that you already believe in. The other ways that I've kind of thought of, like showing more of your personality. Let's say you don't have somebody to do a podcast with. You could go live. Why not, right? You can go live and kind of just like talk about whatever the fuck you like to do the same thing that you would with the podcast. And maybe even, and I've done this before, where you go live and you start talking about something, and then as people comment, you just respond to the comments and you just kind of have a conversation with the comments. This one is kind of weird too. I've done it a few times, and I'm not gonna lie, it feels kind of weird. It feels weirder than this shit. Like, where you just really feel like you're kind of just talking to nobody, even though you're reading comments. Like, it just feels weird. And it might be that lag where they're not just talking, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're talking, you're saying your thing, you're making your point, and then you wait for that comment, and it's just like, oh, okay, now you're like reading it out loud. It's a weird, it's not as natural. It's not obviously going to be as natural as having somebody else mic'd up with a camera and they're just having a conversation with you. But let's say you want to do something a little bit more organized. Another way besides going live, besides the podcast that you could do by yourself is Q&As. Get people to ask you questions. And you can ask people if they have any questions in like your stories or like your regular content, wherever you decide to plug it in, just kind of sprinkle it in here and there. You feel me? Unless you're at the point where you really could go live and, you know what I mean, dozens or hundreds of people are really just coming in. You're like, hey, I'm taking questions. That's super simple. But you might, especially if you're starting out, you might need to be more planned with this. You might need to actually get a group of different questions together. You feel me? So put a story out there on the different platforms that you know engage with. Ask people in your DMs or maybe even in the comment section, where if somebody has a question, you could say, hey, I'm going to answer this on my Q&A coming up on Friday. You feel me? Like, you could find little unique ways and creative ways to plug it in and get people to ask you things or delay answering certain questions, and like turn that into a piece of content where people will be able to digest that and get a little bit more of you. So from there, you would just kind of go live. You could put a video out on your YouTube. You could put maybe answering one question at a time and put them up as different reels or TikToks, whatever. You can get creative. Like I said, the format doesn't really matter. The whole point is you're showing more of you. You're answering people's questions. The more questions that you answer, the more blanks that you're filling in, the more information you're putting out there, the more likely you're putting passive listeners into the active fan category. You feel me? The more that you're able to put out there, the more people are able to connect with. Step 3, show, don't tell. And I guess don't tell isn't really accurate, because that's kind of what step 2 is, right? You want to talk about other things you're passionate about and you believe in, but this step right here is you want to show it. You know, you don't just, like an example, if you like to fix up old cars, you don't want to just talk about it. You don't want to just say all of the different things you like to do on old cars. You want to show people, put content out there of you actually fixing up a car, of you going to a car show or some shit. I don't know. Put things out there where people can not only hear what you like to do and hear what you're passionate about, but they can see it as well. And then you can always put your music in the background as like the background music. That's like some little sneaky music marketing tricks that we'll talk about in another episode. But basically, you can intertwine all of this shit. When you're talking about the things that you're passionate about, you can still sneak in little sponsored ads of your own music. You can still start to sprinkle in, again, using this example, oh yeah, and then like this car that I was fixing up the other day, oh wait, car, as the fan, they're like, wait, this person, they fix up cars too? And this is where people are able to connect with you from all of these different angles. It's not just your music. They're able to go from passive listener to active fan, because it's more than just your music that they're drawn to. They're drawn to you because now they know your beliefs. Now they know what you're passionate about. And they don't just know about it because you've been talking about it. They actually see it too. If you are serious about environmental issues, you feel me, or social issues, it could be either one of those, whatever it is. It could be homelessness or global warming. I don't know. I'm not actually talking about any of those. My point is, you don't just talk about these issues. You don't just say how this is something that is serious for you. Maybe you go out and you go to a homeless shelter. And I guess it would be kind of weird to bring the camera there, because then it's just like, are you just doing this for the clout? So that's a little weird. Watch out for that one. But you get what I'm saying. Don't just talk about the shit. Show people. Like, don't just put your music out there. Put yourself out there.